What up, everybody? This is your boy Dedrian Colon from House of Rasslin, and this is my review for the September 17th episode of Wow Women of Wrestling. Yes, Wow Women of Wrestling. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that way you are notified when the House of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. This episode of Wow Women of Wrestling, I believe this was the first episode that they launched under the Genie Bus, who is the co-owner of Wild Women of Wrestling and also the owner of the Los Angeles Lakers, who I will give a shout out to because she retweeted my compliment of the Beast, which I'll get into later, which is the Wild Women of Wrestling's world champion. I believe this was the first episode that they launched nationwide. Here in Chicago, it aired on Channel 26, the CW, at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I got the tweet and I was like, ooh, okay, let me check this out. It's like, hey, more wrestling that's different. It's like, all right, cool. I'm all for it. It's like, I already watch 15, 16, maybe 17 hours of wrestling a week. No biggie for me. Lifelong wrestling fan, so nothing major. So I was really intrigued to see this episode, and there was a lot of good with this episode, and there was a few things you could say it could be it is subjective to some people. Nothing too bad or anything. I know some people who might watch this episode, oh, it's this, and just tear it apart. I can't do that, honestly, and realistically, if you watch this episode, there's just a few things like, they got to tweak this, they tweak that. One thing that I was blown away by and really impressed was the quality, like the video quality, the presentation, the vignettes, which I loved and enjoyed. The vignettes weren't just, hey, this is this wrestler, blah, 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 and chopping up all these videos. Like, they were a vignette that was telling the story right before the match. I really liked that. The show had nice pacing. All the women looked good. They had when each woman came out, like, you could tell that there was just individuality, and they were giving somewhat of their personality and everything. Love their looks and everything. They were just, I'm like, okay, this is different from the women's wrestling that we see in WWE, AEW, Impact, GCW, a few of those matches, Stardom. It's very different, which I like, because right away this is going to set you apart from all the other women wrestling that's already out. So it's like, okay, this is really good. It did look like they shot this episode at the arena that PWG holds their shows in. The reason why I say that is if you watch this episode, like, you'll see the columns, and PWG, I can't remember I think it's in Seattle or something like that, or that's Defy. Can't remember. Forgive me, guys. Comment below which arena that PWG usually runs their shows. But the columns, I was like, oh man, it looks like PWG. Loved it. I loved how the crowd was very energetic. You could tell that it was more, hey, we're coming back on 5, 4, 3 and hype. But I liked that the way they shot everything, it flowed. It didn't look over like scripted, like, yeah, I'm here, but they're telling me to cheer. It was really cool, nice atmosphere, nice audio. The crowd, just a nice mix. The one thing that really stuck out to me, and it really, for me, I had a difficult time of really getting invested in the wrestlers. Their match or matches was the camera cuts. And I'm sorry, like WWE, when Vince McMahon was running everything, the camera cuts was just awful. And with Wild Women of Wrestling, like, it was like really fast camera cuts, and like the transition to the camera cuts were like, you had the hard cam, then it was a overhead view, then it was a view by the bottom turnbuckle looking up, then it was a view um, on the opposite turnbuckle looking straight ahead. Then it was like it was just all like it was like whoa. And as I watched, I'm just like, okay, I see movement, I see moves, but I don't necessarily see everything together. That's the one major thing that stood out to me that really it was difficult for me to get involved in, get invested in, but at the same time, because of the presentation, because of the look, because of the I really like their entrances, which was really cool. I do gotta say that while Women of Wrestling, you could tell there is some influence from Lucha Underground as far as the cinematic elements into their vignettes and entrances, and it does have that feel. And I like it because it's different. It's just a different flow. I really like the cinematic entrances where it's almost like something like a you would see in a video game, but it was like so cool because it really embellished the character of the women wrestlers. It really brought out their individuality as they came through, the entrance. It was like, okay, it was only them. It wasn't this big stage and crowd or anything. It was like, okay, this is the wrestler that you should be focusing on. This is who this person is. This tag team. This it's like, oh man. And like I said, getting back to the vignettes, man, those vignettes were really good. There was a vignette of Candy Crush, who was a boxer who transitioned to being a professional wrestler. Then there was the rapper BK Rhythm, which was an interesting vignette, which I'll get into later. And last but not least, the vignette of the Wild Women of Wrestling world champion, the Beast. I'll get into that. That's a whole man. Man, oh man, that is money. She is money. But yeah, it, after this episode finished, I was just like, man, like if they didn't have the camera cuts, man, it's like they have everything there to be a viable, complementary alternative to what the WWE does, what AEW does, what Impact does, what GCW does, what MLW does, what NWA does, what New Japan offers, Stardom, all these companies, what they offer. Like, if it wasn't for the camera guts, for me, this they have something here, and it was fun. What I also liked about it was that you had AJ Mendez and you have Jeannie Buss, who were women that are producing this, and you could tell there was a sense of direction and, hey, let's bring out the personality and let's bring out the wrestling. And it wasn't, the mid to late 90s over sexualized women presentation that's like, all right, man, like, if you like that, okay, do that. But like, come on, man, like, we just want to see wrestling. But man, this was so good. The first match, you had the Tonga twins. They defeated Chanelli Chelly and Brandy Rara. The Tongan twins look very impressive, man. Very impressive. There is a lot of women that are in Wild Women of Wrestling that you're going to see. That one, there's a few familiar faces. If you watched AEW Dark, you'll see some familiar faces, but there is going to be some women who come from Wild Women of Wrestling that will be major names in professional wrestling and in women's wrestling in 2022 going forward. Like there's going to be some names that you're going to be like, ooh, oh, okay, oh wow, she came. Trust me, there's some talent here. There's some talent here. They got some characters. They got some, the wrestling matches were, as I was trying to get invested in these matches, in spite of the camera cuts, they didn't do too much. They didn't do too little. It was just the right amount for the right amount of time. Maybe it's that because of the editing or what they did, but it was just the right amount where what you saw was like, okay, wow, this all right, to the point, boom, 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 boom. They're competing and everything. And yes, the first match was it was the opening round of the tag team title tournament. The Tongan Twins, I will tell you, that's one team that you want to keep an eye on. Now, mind you, the other one will be the other wrestler, the Beast, is another one. But the Tongan Twins, please, keep an eye out for them. As they continue in this journey in professional wrestling, they will be. Somebody's going to pick them up, either Impact, AEW, or WWE, because they have that. You look at them, look at their look. It's like, okay, this is what they're presenting now, but it's like over time, it happens to every wrestler. They just evolve, they grow, they adapt. Okay, I got to change here. I got to change here. Okay, this is the time to go this way. This is the time to go this way, and keep an eye out on them. Then, of course, we get the vignette of Candy Crush. Great vignette, gives a backstory of who she is. And this wasn't like a real quick, they fast forward through her whole story. Like, it was very methodical and just the pace was good. It was like, okay, wow, it was almost like they told a story, which I liked it. And then towards the end, you had the wrestler, Coach Campanelli, as Candy Crush is like hitting the punching bag. She walks in and she's like, is that's all you got? Like, really? You think that's what it's going to take? Noodle arms? And just walks away. It was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And granted, some people may think that's hokey and everything. But again, sometimes less is more. And if you just get to the point of what you're trying to present, that's all you really need. It's nothing. It's not rocket science. Just make sure the point that you're trying to get to and convey to the audience, you get to, and then move on. Don't linger anything. But yeah, this match, Coach Campanelli and Candy Crush. Candy Crush basically won with a, they called it the big right hook, but it was the Superman punch that Roman Reigns used. Like, that's what it basically was. So, and it's not taking anything away from him. It was just, I don't know if they can't use the verbiage or what have you. And Wild Women of Wrestling, maybe a reason why they didn't call it that way. There was a few other moves that they really didn't use the regular term that's used for in pretty much every promotion. So I don't know if they're trying to create their own verbiage for moves and make it unique, which, hey, not a bad thing. If that's your goal, I have no problems with it. That's cool. It's fun. It's different. It's a different take on it. It's like, all right, cool. Then you get a video package of next week. You're going to get Laura and Lindsay Carlson, another tag team in Wild Women Wrestling. Really interesting vignette. I wouldn't say vignette, but just a video package. Just the showmanship, the over-the-top yet effective presentation. That's all it was. Then you get the vignette of BK Rhythm, the rapper. Man, it's difficult to critique this and give a review. For me, I really didn't connect with it because the vignette felt like it was forced. But when she came out in the ring and her opponent that she faced, Vivian Rivera, came out, BK Rhythm cuts a freestyle. The freestyle I like more than what she was doing in the vignette. Like, the vignette it was like, okay, she's rapping, but like, how she's rapping is just like, not feeling it. It's like, okay, I get what they're trying to do. I'm just like, But when she got in the ring and cut the freestyle, I was like, hey, this is actually it's pretty good. For me, I know some people like, nah, it's like, for me, it was decent. She got to the point. That was it. It was decent. I enjoyed it. But in the end, in her match, Vivian Rivera, it looked like she was trying to do the Tequila Sunrise arm submission, but turned it into a roll up. So it was like a Tequila Sunrise roll up and pinned BK Rhythm 1, 2, 3, which I was like I thought it was interesting because I'm like, man, they give BK Rhythm a vignette. She comes out, cuts the freestyle, and she loses. I'm like, yeah, let's see where it goes. I mean, if this was WWE, AEW, and Impact, stuff that we're constantly seeing weekly and everything, it's just like, why did they do this? But with this, like, I really can't critique it pretty much too much or at all, basically, because it was like, okay, it's different. It was like, huh, all right, we'll see where this goes. Mind you, all these matches were really good. They were to the point. That's how I would say you could come out of watching this whole episode of Wild Women of Wrestling, that the matches that we saw, it got to the point. They didn't, again, like I said, they didn't do too much. They didn't do too little. It was just boom, boom, boom. It's like, okay, this is this person's character. This is this person's character, and the announcers did a decent job of embellishing their strengths. So as you're hearing the strengths of the wrestlers, you're like, okay, as a viewer, you're like, okay, man, can this person overcome this? And can this wrestler overcome this? So they're already perfect theater of the mind. Like, you're already thinking like, okay, are they going to do this? So it's like you're thinking before anything happens and you're wondering what's going to happen. So it's not like predictable or anything like that. So after the BK Rhythm Vivian Rivera match, we get a vignette of the Beast, the Wild Women of Wrestling champion. Holy crap. First off, this vignette was the best vignette of the whole show. She's in a train yard and she's picking up cinder blocks. Mind you, could be real, could be Hollywood cinder blocks. Whatever it was, it sold that she was freaking strong. So, in the vignette, as she's in the train yard, she takes 2 chains and she's pulling a train. Now, me having a background in video editing and everything and going to school for it, some elements it did look like it was CGI, but for the most part, everything looked legit. And it's like, holy crap. She has the look, she has the intensity. Her match with Ariana Gambino, solid. She's got the nice. She's not too tall. She's not too short. It's like that medium, like that perfect height of just like, ooh, like it's just, man, okay. She has that height where you just turns like, oh, damn. It's like, wow. I will say that the more we see of the Beast, she will draw comparisons to Jazz when Jazz first came on the scene in ECW. And if you guys don't know who Jazz is, she's one of the most legendary women's wrestlers of all time in professional wrestling. She wrestled in ECW, WWE, and more recently she wrestled in Impact Wrestling. But yeah, the Beast, she will draw comparisons of Jazz as we see more of her on Wild Women of Wrestling. And if we see her, when we see her in other places, because she will definitely be seen in other places. She has the look. This match, like, it showcased her power. Her finishing move was the powerbomb what do they call it? The power bomb put out slam, where you power bomb and the legs and kick out the legs and everything. You guys know what I mean. I'm not gonna try to explain this. It's like, oh, man, but yeah, that was her finishing move against Ariana Gambini. Then you had Reina Del Rey attack her afterwards. Little suspense, like, okay, where's this gonna go? It's like, okay, but yeah, the Beast, Wild Woman Wrestling World Champion. That woman, as soon as I seen her come on the screen, and mind you, I'm tweeting and everything, and I look and I'm like, oh, damn. Like, that's the reaction when you see her. It's like, oh, okay, let me. And I'm pretty sure anybody who was clicking through the channels is, man, who the hell is this? And that's when you know someone who is in professional wrestling has that look. That look. Whether it's muscle bound, if your makeup, mask, just it's that look. That okay, what the hell? What's that? And it's not a bad thing. It's just that's the look and that's the reaction of wrestlers who have, you can't necessarily, you could say the it factor, but it's just that, okay, this is someone I want to see because they have something unique that I do not see anywhere else. And that's when you run with them. And you can definitely tell Wild Women of Wrestling is going to run with the Beast. Man, she's got to look right away. I was thinking, I'm like, man, I want to see her and Jade Cargill go at it. Like, I'm already thinking, I'm like, man, she could be Jade Cargill's Venom. Or, yeah, Spider-Man and Venom or Venom and Carnage. Just, I'm like, man, like, Jade Cargill and the Beast. Like, ooh, like, thinking about it now, and Jade Cargill is definitely improving as a wrestler. Granted, Jade Cargill's only been in the industry, 2 years? Almost a year, 2 years. Like if Jade Cargill and the Beast fought like that's just, man, that's money, man. That is money, and the Beast, man, she is money. Check her out. Follow her on social media. If you have a difficult time trying to find the Beast, just go to the Wild Women of Wrestling social media accounts on Instagram and Twitter, and you'll be able to find her. I think they tagged her in a few posts. But man, she's got a look. She is the standout of this show because that vignette was amazing. Her match was very good, and it's like, all right, I want to see more of her because she has a look, and this is going to be fun watching her wrestle and just go through all these competitors and everything. But overall, man, this was a fun show. I had a ball watching it. It was something new, it was something different. It's like I said before at the beginning of this review, Wild Women of Wrestling, this episode was a very complimentary alternative to WWE, AEW, and Impact's women division. There's a lot of talent here. There's a lot. The look was good. The presentation was good. Like I said, the only drawback from this episode was the quick camera cuts to the random, like, just sporadic angles. It was just like, oh man. Towards the end of the episode, you did have those camera cuts, but it was more precise angles, which over time it will improve. So that was only my only drawback, but everything else, I loved it. The freaking Tongan twins performing a double Samoan drop, which I can't recall seeing that. Maybe the Usos did it years ago, but I do not recall seeing a double Samoan drop. But man, there's a lot of talent here. It's a fun show. It's a fun episode. They don't try to do too much. They don't do too little. It's just the right amount for 1 hour, and you get to see talented women wrestlers showcased and presented in a very entertaining and enjoyable way. And look forward to seeing more episodes of this, and I'm looking forward to next week. And got me hooked. It's like, all right, this is something different. Like, you have Stardom in Japan, but we don't necessarily have something of this level here in the States that's has a distribution and syndication as Wild Women of Wrestling. And thank you, Jeannie Buss and AJ Mendez. You guys did a really good job putting the talent together in the presentation, and just a few tweaks here and there, and you got something special here. So, I mean, if anybody, I was thinking about this before I started recording, like, I know there's going to be somebody just overly criticizing this show, and honestly, it is not needed for this show. There is not a lot of criticism, harsh criticism for this show. It got to the point. The camera cuts, like I said, that was my major issue. Other than that, everything was just very to the point. They didn't do too much and just had a fun show. So that is my review for the September 17th episode of Wild Women of Wrestling. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notifications for House of Wrestling so that way you are notified when House of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And last but not least, go follow Wild Women of Wrestling on all their social media accounts. I believe if you go on their websites, they will have, I think, the TV listings for Wild Women of Wrestling, because it is I believe it's syndication. So yeah, check it out, man. This is fun. It's an enjoyable show. I mean, it's the perfect time for this show to debut, considering that we're going more into, we're heading into the fall and winter season. So not a lot of people are going to be going out on Saturdays in certain parts of the country. So at 9 o'clock at night on a Saturday, if you're not going out, you know what, man, let me watch some Wild Women of Wrestling. And it comes on pretty much the same time as New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong. So, hey, you can watch New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong. You can watch Wild Women of Wrestling, just something different. And you go from there. And I will add this. I know I said this is my review, but I will add this, that one thing that I did wish as I was watching this on Channel 26 CW in Chicago, I was like, man, it'd be so dope if you had another wrestling program before it and another wrestling program afterwards, because they did have that back in the late 99, 2000, up until WCW and ECW were bought. Channel 26 had WWF at 7, ECW at 8, and WCW at 9. So you had all three syndicated shows back to back to back. And I was like, man, it'd be so cool now if you had like an MLW, Wild Women of Wrestling, and like NWA all on a Saturday time. So I was like, oh man, that'd be so cool. But it is what it is. So that is my review. And you know what? Stop fighting over wrestling. There's a lot of arguments over recent events in professional wrestling. Stop fighting. Just enjoy professional wrestling. All right. With that,